so-called forces of the Libyan opposition, who were in turn adopting the mechanism of effecting change by force in order to achieve goals and slogans allegedly linked to freedom, justice, democracy, development, and human rights. The current Libyan predicament today is impregnated with scenes of disappointment, decline in development rates to the lowest levels, multiplication of financial waste, and local international piracy on the savings of Libya and its assets, proliferation of arms, militias, chaos, an upsurge in the rate of horrific crimes such as murder, kidnapping, and mounting of ethnic prejudices and racism, an escalation of intercity clashes, the displacement of a high rate of the population to neighboring countries as a result of insecurity and disruption of the judiciary, and the hurling of tens of thousands, most of them in secret prisons without charges and without trial on the basis of law. This serious decline that has plagued all walks of life in Libya is catastrophic compared to what the country had been witnessing of improvement and marked progress, as per testimony of the international community and international institutions and organizations. To give some examples of such progress, we cite advances in the files of human rights, economic and human development, renunciation of terrorism, and provision of assistance in getting rid of weapons of mass destruction, paying attention to and pursuit to realize positive outcomes in the fields of democratic reform, legislation, and social justice. The fighting of corruption and compensation for those affected by it, privatization and economic openness on its regional and international milieu, especially in its vital hemispheres, Africa and the Mediterranean, and the presenting of initiatives that contribute to resolving a number of unsettled international political dilemmas. Of course, as most of those files and development projects and reform programs had seen success, others had been less successful in achieving visible direct results or stumbled for one reason or the other. Nevertheless, this does not justify resorting to violence, chaos, and destruction of all the achievements and capabilities of this country only in order to get carried away behind the hypothesis that change in Libya can only happen by force and in the bad way that matters had evolved up until now. Day in, day out, the situation gets worse. And the same tools that caused them. What happened in Libya was a dangerous international precedent that turned a developing country that was looking forward to realizing a radical transformation towards development, progress, and international cooperation in all fields to a failed one, which is not only losing its resources in a drastic manner, but also the trust of others in its ability to recover more quickly. Among the most important things that collapsed are the army and police institutions, the two pillars of security and stability, which are now being restored on fragile bases that rely on loyalty, regional affiliation, and settling of accounts. As a result, religious extremists, former prisoners, and militia gangsters littered these institutions, only to enable specific grouping to rule the country and create sources of funding for that grouping, and to disperse benefits without achieving any results that would support or contribute to realizing any type of security and stability. Consequently, the country has become a hotbed for terrorism and a sanctuary for all world-banned extremist, radical, militant religious organizations and orientations. And the state lost the most important attribute of sovereignty, which is the judicial institution. It has become an arena for the ongoing daily conflict in the country. As a matter of fact, this institution at certain times was one of the tools of this so-called system, since not only it issued a set of exclusionary decisions and laws, but also adopted resolutions to wage internal wars, driven sometimes by threats, other times by the drive to abolish the other, and in most cases the use of double standards. Ladies and gentlemen, one need not state that there is nothing in world memory, nor its thesauri, or its well-documented and inherited political theories of any link between reform, development, and human rights as slogans and objectives, and bombing, murder, militias, and terrorism as tools to achieve such noble goals. All that's constantly reiterated by Libya's new rulers about the alleged triumph of democracy that brought them to power over piles of devastation, bodies, and blood, and that because of which the suffering of the Libyan people continues, as evident in the disruption of services, the burning of airports, the closing down of most of the sea and land area outlets, the lack of medicine, food, fuel, and gas supplies in all Libyan cities, a democracy that has turned these cities into battlefields under the concepts of the new advocates for democracy and freedom, who managed to split the country into a victorious team and a losing team. This negative predicament that resulted from an international intervention, which violates all international laws and norms, will not be Libya's problem alone. We have stated from the outset that the regional neighborhoods and the international community will suffer from the effects of these actions whose consequences were not well thought out. Such suffering will be evident in a variety of negative after effects, such as corruption, repression, an atmosphere of instability, and resorting to violence and terror. In addition to a resounding fall in the domains of freedom, justice, and human rights, and the export of terrorism that established an important base in Libya, from which it will strike all African countries incapable of confronting it, and also be a source of threat to the countries of the Mediterranean and Southern Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, Libya's pioneering positive and effective role along decades of years ago in the promotion of peace in the region, its fundamental contribution to the establishment of the Great African Union as a peace and development organization, its concrete real participation in the programs of peace and development in a large number of countries, makes everyone directly responsible to continue to activate his or her efforts in order to put an end to the tragic situation experienced by the Libyan people under the militia's government, ruling under the slogans of isolation, exclusion, and marginalization. The absence of Libya's positive and vital role in the regional, continental, and international system has caused a significant decline in the march of peace and development that was taking place in the Middle East and Africa in general, and Libya's neighboring countries and the Mediterranean in particular. Such an absence has left a huge vacuum in crisis management frameworks and mechanisms for successful political solutions, as a result of which emerged many terrorist organizations to threaten peace in the region, led by ISIS, Daesh terrorist organization, which we believe plays a pivotal role behind the growing waves of illegal immigration towards Europe. Libya's image is very scary. It does not look natural, except for those who believe that victory begets majority, and that victory in the battle gives justification to do all the mistakes and commit all types of crime in the name of a legitimacy created by the war machine, a deceptive media, and also by conspiracy whose reality was absent from some but deliberately ignored by others. We, and everyone here today through you, the organizers of this important debate, address all the active forces in the world, and urgently, more than ever, to shoulder their political and humanitarian responsibilities in order to contribute in revealing the Libyan crisis and resolving the Libyan crisis by helping Libya and its people to restore the country from the clutches of militias and terrorism, racism, poverty, revenge, the risk of partition, and the specter of civil war. We call upon all international and regional peace-loving forces to do their immediate utmost efforts in order to enable the displaced and dislodged, who count in millions, to return to their towns and their homes, to realize the release of prisoners, detainees, and abductees, who count in tens of thousands, and to call for an international investigation into all the crimes and violations brought to bear on the people of this good, peaceful country. We also demand and seek the creation of a genuine climate and clean political environment suitable for organizing a national dialogue based on the premises, on fair premises that would put the Libyans on equal footing in exercising their right of self-determination, in shaping the future of their homeland, and in restoring Libya's sovereignty and its leading role in the regional and international media. Ladies and gentlemen present, finally, we would like to renew our greetings and appreciation for your endeavors to expose the dimensions of this aggression, which put Libya in an image that is not befitting it. Libya that was known to everyone as a promising, peace-loving country desiring good for all. We wish you success in the works of this debate, peace, mercy, and blessings of God unto you. This is the message of the Political Affairs Division of the Libyan National Popular Movement. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Dejavani and Dr. Abdallah. We now have some more time for questions, so the audience is invited to participate.